it's beginning to get a little bit spicier here. I'm going to go with one of mine, the Houston Rockets. And this is a trade up chase. This is the Hornets trading up, which I don't think has been talked about a lot. But in a draft where everybody wants to trade back, there is potentially some interest here. And let's say Stephon Castle is the guy for Charlotte. That is the guy they've identified. There are some ties here that the Spurs are a fan of Stephon Castle and they could be taking him at 4. So maybe there is a world where you need to jump the Spurs and you need to move up to 3. In this trade, I'm suggesting that the Hornets move up to 3 with the Houston Rockets and they give up 6. And as well, they give up Cody Martin, mainly because in this scenario, I'm thinking you would be drafting someone like Stephon Castle, who would probably be filling a similar-ish role than Cody Martin, and you've got the health concerns. And in return, you'd also be collecting Jack Londale from the Houston Rockets, who I would describe as a negative value contract right now. He has 3 years, $8 million per year. So basically 3 years, $24 million. They didn't have him in the rotation this year, and they brought in Steven Adams because they don't trust him. So they are probably trying to get off the Jack Londale money, which is part of the reason why they make this trade, is essentially to kind of clear the books a little bit. They save an extra year of salary by bringing in Martin instead of Londale, and they bring in a hard-nosed, versatile defender in Cody Martin, which is exactly the kind of guy that Ime Udoka will like on his team, that is for sure. So it hurts to give up Cody Martin, but if you are sold, Castle is the guy. Let's see he is number 1 or 2 on the Hornets board. I think this is pretty reasonable. And again, I reached out to Jeremy Brenner, who runs the Rockets podcast. I've had him on here doing mock trade talks before. And he was like, yeah, I think this is a pretty fair trade, which is always good to get that other side of input. Chase, do you agree it's a fair trade from the Hornets part?
I think so. I mean, in a normal draft, this is not nearly enough to move up the top 3, honestly. If you could just move up 3 spots into the top 3 for only Cody Martin, essentially, I think you do that 10 times out of 10. Like, regardless of, the perception of the class, like, if you have that opportunity and you have, Stephon Castle, Reese Shea, whoever that may be, that is your guy at number 3, you could do this 10 times out of 10. Obviously,
and bad money. You're taking on bad money. I'm counting Londale as negative salary, someone who's out the rotation. They want to move off. If it was just Cody Martin, I don't think Houston do it, but they're getting a plus rotation player and shipping out someone who I don't think they want to be on their team anymore. So for me, that is also some of the value to Houston here. It's not just the Cody Martin incoming.
Oh, yeah. Landale is not a good player. He wouldn't play for the Hornets either, even given their lack of depth in the front court whenever any sort of injury strikes. I'd probably play Bertans over him in at least some situations. What
about Richards? Because my thinking was you could maybe move Nick Richards in another separate deal if you value Landale as a backup center more than Nick Richards.
See, I personally I like Nick more than him, but that is something that you could do because Nick is, to me, one of the few players on this roster, other than Cody, honestly, that you're going to trade and be able to extract value from without attaching anything. You could probably, to me, replace Nick in this trade and maybe add a second round pick or something like that. And you'd probably still be able to do it as well, because that would essentially just be the Rockets swapping a center they don't like for one that they presumably would like that also makes less money. So, I mean, you'd think that they would do that as well. Cody Martin obviously would fit in with their, defense first ethos that they kind of seem to be leaning towards right now. Would be a pretty seamless fit playing behind Dylan Brooks, a very similar style of defense at least, and at least a more reliable offensive player. But yeah, I mean, I would totally do this from the Hornets perspective. I think the Houston Rockets probably would as well. Yeah, I would do this 100%. I just think Cody is good. So that to me means you have to put him in trades like this. You can't hold on to him and then also expect to make moves of any sort of impact. You could put Cody, Nick, and Grant Williams probably in this trade, other than players like LaMelo and Mark and Brandon Miller and whoever, core pieces. I think those are the only 3 guys that get this done. Vasa Micic does not get this done. I don't think Bertans does. Nick Smith Jr. alone doesn't. Seth Curry doesn't. Poku, Bryce McGowan's. I don't think any of those guys are good enough to get any sort of value out of in a trade. Cody and Nick, those are the 2 guys that I would be trying to shop or at least build the framework of trades around this summer this so that you can like really improve your team only by trading like 1 or 2 guys.
So I don't want us to speak out of both sides of our mouth because we just had a previous conversation saying that everyone like in our tier from like kind of 5 to 15 is kind of flat in terms of our rating. So with this moving up to 3, do you have Castle in that kind of higher tier then? Is that why you're more of a kind of interested in that? Obviously, this is a Castle-based scenario that I've pitched here.
Yeah, honestly, I would say like right now, I would say my like tier breaks for like the first round is Sar and Topic together in 1, and then 3 through probably 6 with Holland, Castle, Klingen, and Collier are in a tier, and then probably 7 through like 18, starting with Risa Shea through Yves Misi, are all in the same tier together.
So I mean, maybe here's the question: who would you do this deal for? Which prospects would, if you're moving up to 3, would you do this if they're on the board?
I would do it for Sar, Topic, Holland, and Castle. Probably would be the 4 that I would do that for.
Okay.
I don't expect Holland to be or Sar to be there. I would imagine that it's like almost certainly only Holland or Castle. I think Topic or Risa Shea probably have a good chance at going number 2. But if any of those 4 guys in Sar, Topic, Holland, and Castle are there, I would totally go for this.
Okay. So to recap, that was Cody Martin in number 6 for Jack Londale and number 3. All right, I think we're 3 out of 3 on agreed trade so far, so we are doing well.